Hey guys, welcome back to From the Depths. Um, all right, so I've got the Kraglenorn built. The Kraglenorn, by the way, if you didn't know, I named it after a uh, one of the monsters of D&D, as I have named my other stuff. Um, this one's like a dragon, like a wingless serpentine dragon kind of thing, and I built it in the campaign. I have done a lot of modifications and stuff since the last time you saw it. It now runs on a fuel engine, um, and has shielding and other stuff like that. And I figured this would be a good test here because this fleet right here is a Kingstead, which is a giant ship, and then two kind of smaller ships. So we'll see how it goes against this little fleet here. I really do want to test this thing out in like actual combat because I've done a good bit of testing in the creative mode to to figure out if it's actually a good ship or if it just has big guns and that's it. So very curious to see how it performs. My goal for today is to kind of punch through the Onyx Watch and um, poke the White Flayers a little bit and see how we do against them. So some of our guns may not be reloaded here. Yeah, okay, so I did just load this vehicle in, so unfortunately its guns are not reloaded. That's a shame. But it looks like the munition defense lasers are working pretty well. I beefed them up just a little bit, and I gave them a lot more engine power, so that they should work pretty reliably. Yeah, you can see they're shooting down most of the cram cannons, or the cram cannon shells. I also added shields. It's strength 4.5 shields all around. I did that just because that's the strength of shield that my RTGs could support alone. So even without the engine running, the RTGs will fully support the shields, which is nice. So that it's only using fuel in combat, which is handy. Alright, looks like our cannons are firing. I did lower the fire rate of the cannons so they're not a giant, ridiculous burst. But they are still a little more bursty, rather than a sustainable fire, just because I do kind of like that. But they do fire a lot more frequently now. Let's see. It's hard to tell how much damage we've done to this thing from all the smoke. Okay, yeah, we're plinking away at it. Again, it came into this fight not reloaded, unfortunately. So all these things have to reload, and we're just sort of driving around shooting down their shells. That was nice. Shells reflecting off the shields, then getting destroyed by the laser defense system. One thing I need to do, just sort of noticing it now, is I need to put some laser munition defense guns on the sides of it. Not quite below the water, but just above the water, because it looks like they can't fire down below the lip of the ship, which is a little bit of a problem just because these things can also shoot torpedoes, but if they can't shoot down past the lip of the ship, they're not going to be able to hit torpedoes. So adding a few more of those would be good. Oof, just absolutely destroying those shells coming at us, though. Looks like we've not taken much damage. It looks like one of the grenade launchers was hit. It is now shooting because it has been repaired. I did add repair bots to this thing. Not a ton, because I don't like to be super healy in combat, but it has enough, You can see this thing carries a lot of fuel, about 280,000, with a pretty strong engine. Although it will need a support ship to keep it supplied with fuel. One thing I also did, and I'll show you here, is I added internal rotor blades to this thing so that if its altitude dips below its normal resting spot, the rotor blades will actually lift it back up above the water. And while this thing doesn't sink very easily, the recoil of these massive guns does tend to kind of send it down into the water. So having those is nice. But yeah, all the stability of the ship is controlled via control blocks. There's no PID systems or anything like that. Um, I do have some thrusters just on the sides here that are again activated through control blocks. So you can see if the roll gets a little too extreme, the thrusters on that side go off and push it back down, which works pretty nice. It looks like we have destroyed the Kingstead already, sort of dug through it to kill its AI. Oh, now we're shooting this little thing. I think this is the Grindle. I think with the introduction of the Crag Lenorm, we have sort of beaten the Onyx Watch pretty heavily. I can't think of any designs that they have that can challenge this thing. I did put the Crag Lenorm up against the Erie, that big Onyx Watch airship that we kind of struggled with, or struggled against before, and it won pretty hard. I do appreciate just the amount of shots this thing puts out. Though again, it's not going to be great against super fast-moving flyers, because it doesn't have any guns that have a really, really fast muzzle velocity. It's like we're fighting in the Red Sea again. That's cool. I'm going to assume that's the blood of our enemies filling the water. I feel like that's a fair assumption, especially with the Kingstead being so big. Headcanon, this thing has a lot of crew, and they just kind of popped. Yeah, see, it's disappearing, and now the water's fine again. That's not gruesome or anything. Whole lot of explosions there, which is nice to see. But again, it's just cool to see how durable these Onyx Watch ships are. I mean, they're so tanky. I mean, even this little thing, it just takes so many shots to bring down. But I'm very, very interested to see how well the Crag Lenorm stacks up against the Onyx, or the White Flayers designs. Alright, yeah. I think we have this pretty well in hand. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to the end of this, or through the end of this fight, and also through me just letting this thing reload its guns, because I'd like for this thing to have reloaded weapons before the next fight. Huh. I think that shot missed. Alright. So, be right back. Okay, we're back and with a slightly larger enemy fleet this time. Looks like a Poseidon, Stockade, Cauldron, Grindle, Telemach. So, maybe a little bit bigger, but not by much. Unfortunately, this thing didn't quite get the chance to finish reloading, because in that last fight we moved in from this tile to this tile, and that spawned in this defense fleet. So, hopefully we have a few more guns online this time. I was also looking on the inside of this ship, just to, you know, see how the ammo situation was doing, and found that there's kind of a structural weakness where the ammo cache is. So I'm going to go in after this battle and fix that, because I don't want this thing, you know, erupting into a giant fireball because of how much ammo it has to use. Looks like we're doing a pretty good job shooting down the enemy shells. Let's see how our shells are doing. Yeah. That poor sailboat. I feel like it's a war crime to fight sailboats with a ship like ours. Oh yeah, the Stockade has a laser defense system. Probably not going to be good enough to stop our shells, though. And then, what was this thing again? This is the... Oh, that's the Stockade. So what is this? The Cauldron. Okay. Yeah, one of the big reasons I like those grenade launchers and I like them for a lot of reasons, is that munition defense lasers just can't target them. They do a good bit of damage, but they're small enough and fast enough to where munition defense lasers generally just don't even try, which is nice. Looks like we're kind of waffling back and forth between targeting the cauldron and the stockade, which I'm fine with. Looks like we're probably destroying one gun and then going back to the other ship, destroying another gun, and going back and so on. Again, totally fine with that. And I like how much firepower this thing can sort of spread out. It doesn't have to focus on one target. It's got enough guns all over the place to where it can shoot at 2 targets at once. And yeah, we're just taking no damage from these fights. Yeah, but unfortunately we still don't have enough ammo to reload that bat gun. But we will after this fight. I've taken pretty much all the Onyx Watch bases, so they don't have any more fleets being produced. We just have to deal with the ones that are left over. I also like how low to the water this thing sits. I say that right as it ramps off a wave and goes up into the air, but it is a nice low profile, which makes it a little harder to hit. You have to be fairly accurate to hit this thing, even though it doesn't move particularly quickly. It's a little too fat and bulky to move quickly. Even if I added more propellers, I probably couldn't get this thing over like 14 or 15 meters per second, so I'm fine where it is. I'd rather it spend its engine power on shields and lasers. Looks like was that the stockade? No, that's the stockade. Well, we blew something else up. We're just completely ignoring this little Telemachus here. This thing is just the most adorable little ship. It's just a little bundle of blocks. I love when it rolls over in a wave. But yeah, so far, doing pretty well. This thing has a lot more finishing power than the other ships we've had so far. Like the Rock and the Owlbear can win fights, but not really finish them very quickly. Like they definitely strip the weapons off, and then I wait 5 minutes while they finish off the ship. This thing obliterates things. Like if this thing targets something, it just sort of dies, which is nice. It's a nice change. I'm probably going to need to keep the pack mule around for this thing. You can see this is the second fight I've put it through, and it's already down about a quarter of its fuel. So it will need a fuel resupply ship to come along with it, which is okay. That's kind of to be expected. Looks like we're just wrapping this up. Yeah, a lot of lovely explosions there. So the grenade launchers, just like they do on the Owlbear, use a pretty simple 200mm shell. It's an HE head, an HE warhead body, and an inertial fuse. And then they just kind of lob them at a pretty rapid fire rate, which is nice. The main cannons on this thing use a 500mm combo high explosive and frag shell, which I find is a pretty reliable shell type for something, for like a really big shell, because it can get through shields as well. Whereas things like Heat and Hesh are not always completely stopped by shields, but countered a lot more by shields. And there it goes. Alright, now this time for real, I'm going to wait around for this thing's guns to reload, and we'll be back after that. Alright, we're ready to hit the Onyx Watch, but before we do, I want to show that I've gone ahead and put the difficulty up to Godly from Expert, because, well, there's some really cool ships in the Godly designs, and I want to see them, and I want to fight them, and probably lose to them sometimes. But I think it'll be a good change for us. So let's do a couple of battles against the Onyx, or the I keep saying that, the White Flayers. So first, relationships, White Flayers. Let's. It is the White Flayers, right? I assume so. Yeah. Declare war. That makes most everyone else like us more. Nobody likes the White Flayers. I think maybe the Lightning Hoods do, but that's about it. Alright, so we're going to go straight into a Strength 150 tile with our Crag Lenorm by itself. Now, I know that there's this little village, the Onyx Watch left, there's this little village here. I'll get that off camera. Alright. Hurry up now. I forget that the Crag Lenorm is kind of slow and takes its time getting there. I've given it a pack mule just to sort of, you know, maintain. I don't think it'll need the pack mule in combat like the rocks do, but just having one outside of combat to refuel will be nice. Okay, well, we're starting this off with a bang, aren't we? Alright, let's see. Judgment. Perforator. Judgment. Sin Eater. Martyr. Guillotine. And Viles. Alright. Well, we're actually pretty outnumbered both in point cost and in volume. The Perforator alone is 406,000. That's pretty much the cost of the Crag Lenorm. So this might be interesting. But our guns are reloaded. We are fully stocked. Let's do this. Test ourselves against the first big White Flayers fleet. Uh-oh. Oh boy. It looks like two of the enemy ships may have spawned on top of each other, which would be bad, just because that causes so much lag. Yeah, I can see explosions going off there. But let's at least take a look at what they have. Okay, that's a bad ship to spawn on top of. Yep, that's an unfriendly neighbor right there. Still, that looks terrifying. Lots of spinning ram blocks. Probably going to want to kill this thing first so it doesn't eat me. Guessing this is the... Yep, that's the Perforator. Wow, that thing's expensive. These guys have almost 2 million points worth of ships in this fleet, which is terrifying. Really cool designs, though. Looks like they've got dual railgun cannons there. That's something that I think probably my next design will use is railguns, because I do really like railguns, either a railgun or a laser. Looks like more ramming ships. You're the little martyr. I'm guessing you're just filled with nukes. That would be my guess. Just filled with nukes. That's a cool ship. I've never seen that one before. What is that? That is the Guillotine. Oh, that's a cool ship. Wow, look at that. And it's got a bunch of hydrofoils on the bottom. This may actually be a water skimmer, which would be cool. Alright, so probably going to be quite a bit of lag from the start, just because, well, of this. Hopefully that'll clear up before too long. Yep. Yep. Oh, looks like they have a lot of torpedoes, too. We'll see how we deal against that. They're shooting at us. Our shields look like they're deflecting these shells pretty well. Let's see how our shells do. Alright. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a... Actually, it's got thrusters and stuff. I guess it is supposed to be a flyer. Wow. That's just... it's so much firepower coming in against these guys. Oh boy. Looks like one of the perforators is already kind of just blowing up there. Um, Hopefully this lag will clear up a bit. Kind of losing frames. It looks like I have blown one of the perforators into the other perforator, which is nice. Giant splashes as our shells hit the water and hit the enemy. Looks like the enemy has a particle cannon somewhere. Yeah, I'm guessing that's the Judgment, and its big cannon on the top there is a particle cannon. I have mixed success with particle cannons. What was... Oh! Looks like their nuke went off. Glad it wasn't close to me. Yeah, I've mixed success with particle cannons. And I know you can build them very well. And I know they can do a good bit of damage, but I've never used them as sort of a main weapon on a ship before. Ooh, just a ton of lag though. But it looks like that's a pretty accurate one at least. How are we doing? After all that, we're at 99% health. Let's get back to the lovely Kraglenorn. Let's see how we're doing. Is that a torpedo? I think that might just be a missile that's kind of gotten stuck in the water. That may be an EMP missile, but it's kind of hard to tell. No, maybe not. Yeah, I think it's just explosive and frag. What is this guy? Is this... I thought the Martyr... Oh! I was about to say, I thought the Martyr blew up. I think that was friendly fire, actually. Pretty sure that was just a particle cannon from the Judgment that just went straight through that. Nukes. I love nukes in this game. I'd like to build something that has like a nuclear missile sort of vehicle spawner. Just like build a vehicle that is a nuclear missile and then have another ship that builds and launches them. Alright, looks like we're holding our own pretty well. They are hitting us with some EMP. This ship does have a good bit of EMP shielding. Not a ton, but a good bit of it. So that the most vulnerable sections are protected. Let's see, what did that particle cannon do to us? Yeah, it looks like that particle cannon is shooting through. But again, most of this around here is armor. It doesn't look like they've gotten to the guns yet. Now, are we reloading? Okay, the guns are... They have shells in them, they just need to reload. Looks like one of our cannons has taken a little bit of damage here. Kind of precision damage that went through it. I'm guessing this is a particle cannon that hit that. But we are definitely still firing at them. This thing worries me quite a lot. This thing is very angry looking, and in fact I'm going to have my ship target it, because that worries me. Let's see if we can blow this thing up before it gets to us, because I'd rather not just be, you know, chewed up by this thing. Looks like we're hitting it hard enough to prevent its forward momentum, which is nice. A lot of big explosions there. Yeah, I think we've blasted straight into the center of this thing. Oh, something's happening because my frames just completely dropped. I'm hoping that that was something of the enemy's blowing up and not something of mine blowing up. Alright, big internal explosion there of the Veles. I know this is a name of a moon, I think, which is also a name of, maybe it's either Greek or Roman god, but, you know, not entirely sure. And that means I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it either. But it looks like we've blown it to hell, which is good. And now it looks like we're focusing on the judgment here. We're down to 92% health, which is... Oh, that's a perforator. Which is the lowest I've actually seen this ship. But we are up against some pretty disgusting odds at the moment. So I'm not surprised. Alright, I think we've taken care of that. I think next we should focus on this perforator, which we've already damaged. So I'm guessing its defenses are pretty compromised. If we just sort of focus on it for a bit, hopefully we can finish it off. Well, come on, menu. There we go.
Engaging now.
I know I could just use the tactical map for that, but... Looks like we are a little bit underwater. At least the front of our ship is a little bit under the water, and we're coming back up. I will be very impressed if the Kraglenorm can win this fight. Uh-oh. Maybe I shouldn't have stopped shooting this thing. Yeah, no, that's about to be real bad for us. So let's shoot this thing again.
Engaging now. Engaging now.
Go away, go away. Looks like we've lost one of our main guns. That's not great. Oh, big explosion there. Looks like we've lost another of our main guns. And another. That was a bad couple of hits there. Okay, I think we've shot that thing enough. Let's go back to shooting the perforator. It looks like... Oop! Well, it looks like I'm dead, for one. It looks like most of the other ships that they have are just about knocked out. Uh-oh. I see a big internal explosion there. That is not good. This is not a great maiden voyage for the Kraglenorm. Ooh, and I'm just dead immediately. Looks like we are still shooting back at the enemy, still doing lots of damage to them. As long as I can keep at least a gun operational, then I'm pretty confident we can keep this ship above the water. At least for a while. Can I have you target you? There we go. Well, that's not a good angle. That's not a good depth. Ooh, alright, we're down to just over 60% health. I'm afraid this may be the end of our first Kraglenorm. Which, honestly, is not surprising. They had about 4 or 5 times as many points in this fight as I did, and much more than that in volume. Yep, looks like the Kraglenorm is lost. Down it goes. We did quite a lot of damage to the enemy. We took out, I think, 2 of those ships. Judgment's at 85, 97, 79. Yeah, so I think the lesson here is that as strong as the Kraglenorm is, it should not go in alone. Especially against these Strength 150 fleets. I'll need to start bringing in other ships as well, or possibly just building a second Kraglenorm. That's a lot of torpedoes. Yeah, I think having maybe 2 rocks to escort this thing would be a good thing. Because, yeah, our ship seems to be too damaged. And away it goes. Well, we have successfully poked the White Flayers. And they have pretty thoroughly poked us back. But I'm not too worried. I think the Kraglenorm with a good escort, shouldn't have too much of a hard time dealing with these ships. We are just pretty heavily outgunned here. But unfortunately, that is all the time that I have today. I know this is going to be kind of a short one. But it shows our Kraglenorm in action, and both A, that it is a very powerful ship, and B, that it is not invulnerable. That it is not something that can come in and just wipe out the White Flayers by itself. So, next time I will have the Kraglenorm rebuilt with an escort, and we'll hit these guys again. So, thanks a bunch, and I will see you later.